So you empower them, you make them part of the whole process. I think that's very important. I think that's something most of the leaders should do, and even the leadership team should also do. Now you told that people call you the business doctor, and they come to you when there is a problem. But nowadays, the doctors are going one step ahead, and how to prevent these problems also, or how to be more healthy. So, do you involve only when there's a problem in the business, or do you have business houses coming to you saying that, we are in a certain stage and we want to expand and grow? So, do you play a role in those businesses which is running quite smoothly, but they want to expand? They want to diversify. They want to go geographically, product-wise, or they want to get into a completely new business model. Do you play a role in that also?
So, a service like what I'm talking about, principally is not an offering of anybody, right? You may have some of the big consulting firms who may talk this language, but unfortunately, these kinds of businesses which I'm referring to don't go to them. And neither they want too much academic knowledge, they want real implementation of things being done. Which is why, if you see, I don't talk about advisory or suggestions, I talk about action points and implementation, right? And which is why, and then it continues. So, the whole idea of Minds is that I create a center of change in an organization, because today you may identify certain objectives to be fulfilled, but it's an ongoing exercise because the market is dynamic, it is changing. So, you need to have that center of change or center of excellence within every family business, which can, once they learn the art of how to go about identifying a problem, how to go about solving it through a task force and this, then it's all. So, my whole focus is about building the center, and so future things can be prevented, right? Businesses always will have their challenge. They will, from day one when you start, there is a challenge, right? Like for example, if you take today's startups, why 90% of the startups fail? Only 10% succeed, but 90% of startups fail because the founders have an idea of disruption, right? But to take that idea to market, and even if it goes to market and you build an organization around it, then for it to become a sustainable organization, for the founder, if he gets involved in paying day-to-day salaries, daily operations, receivables, collection, all these kind of issues, he loses his focus from what was his core competency, right? So, those 90% of those 10% of successful startups are successful not because of the original founder who bring in that idea alone, but because he brought in a strong, competent co-founder or a CEO or whatever you may be, who is experienced, who is in the age bracket of, these are statistics, in the age bracket of 40 plus, who have gone through ups and downs of businesses, manage that, and can become a strong support to the founder, where founder can continue to focus on technical expertise or whatever they are building, right? While this gentleman can look at other aspects, right? So, the founder may not be good at finance, you could bring in somebody. So, it's a strong combination. So, similarly, in family-owned businesses also, the original founder should then have to appoint the right people. Now, there is where the larger problem lies. 80% of the problem in all these businesses are people-driven problems and not the business model, not the finance, not this. It's people, right from your recruitment to your retention to your upbringing and talent enhancement, right? All these are visible problems. In family businesses, HR is one of the least focused area. There is something called admin and PRO service which they manage, but HR is not understood. Product management is not understood. Marketing intelligence is not understood, right? There's focus on standard marketing, but market intelligence, competition benchmarking, all these are very, very weak areas. Supply chain enhancement, procurement, yes, you can buy, but how to make an efficient supply chain, least focus area. So, there are so many areas to be.
I think this is one of the other important point when you talk about HR. We say that in this part of the world, unless this is basically about this people having the HR background, they did a master's in HR and they are an HR manager from different parts of the world coming here, they see that the opportunity is much less here, unless you get into a proper structured multinational having an HR function. This in family-owned business, as you told, it is more of admin, somebody is under PRO service in terms of somebody going on leave, do what, or the visa process. There is no proper HR in terms of training and development, talent management, hiring the right people. So, and even if there is an HR person, he said that his hands are tied. He is just a person who just follow what the owners are saying. So, do you bring that? And then when it comes to supply chain also, there's another thing. They look at all these things as cost centers rather than how does it help in the future. So, do you play a role in bringing this efficiency within the organization and make them realize the importance of this investment today, and how does it help the organization to grow in the coming years? I mean, do you have any experience in that?
So the first thing which I address is bringing in a good HR head. Obviously, when I'm in these organizations, I am as a part of the assignment, I'm putting in the right people, whether it's a CFO, whether it is a CIO, whether it is a CTO or a CHRO or whosoever it is. Now, see, the problem is that most of the HR people themselves make their own position very weak. Because one, since they don't come from business, they cannot articulate themselves very strongly to the shareholders or to the board or to the CEOs about why they believe so strongly in fixing the system and what is it, how they should go, right? So they slowly, some of the weaker guys become a part of the system and start operating like that. That is where the whole problem starts. Actually, the HR head is ideally a very, very powerful position, in my opinion, as powerful as finance, right? Because if you are not able to hire the right people, your whole system goes for a six. I have made certain rules in my life on when I want to hire, because I learned from mistakes. In fact, I want to say this because when I moved from a general manager role to a C-level role in large family businesses, I started seeing my failure. Because when you start managing a larger cluster of people and businesses, and if you don't change your modus operandi of management, right, and you still do micromanagement, you will fail. And that's exactly what I felt, and that led me to do my executive MBA at IMD in Switzerland, which is ranked neck to neck with Harvard as the top executive MBA school. And it's a 2 years only can only be organization sponsored, because the model is like this, that for every 3 months you are there in Switzerland, and you are like, for example, companies like Nestle and all, this is a mandatory course for somebody moving from GM to C-level. So you are working with a peer group of about 60 who are at that same level across different industries and geographies. And what you learn in those 3 months, then you have to, for the next 3 months, come and practice it in your organization, implement it and take back the results of that, right? And you have leadership coaches assigned to you on this. So I told my coach, I have this problem, micromanagement. I think many of my people can't do it, so I get involved in that. And that's how I changed, I learned. And it's a long learning process. This was a very expensive course. But the thing is, in family-owned businesses, those people who started probably as accountants 20 years back, today will grow into maybe CFOs, but there is no training, there is no upgrading of skills or anything. They learn on the job what they learn. But the market outside has changed completely. Right? So you may be good, still continuing good to manage day-to-day operations, but you don't have the skills of bringing in the change because you haven't done it, right? And then what happens is, because these people don't have those skills, and because in this part of the world, being an expat, you are also always remain under threat of losing a job. So you tend to protect your own position, and you don't bring better people than you, right? Which is another managerial failure. You don't bring better people than you, and so as to protect your own, and then the whole system continues like that. So 2-3 rules I made for myself in recruitment, which I was coming to, is one, I do not hire for a position unless I have shortlisted 3 candidates for that position, right? Shortlisted means I have 3 candidates to choose from. Even if it is an urgent position, whatever it may be, I don't buy. And second, I don't hire by only my decision, because I like one of the biggest mistakes we make is we hire because I like to hear what that guy is saying, I like it, so I hire. But if his thoughts and my thoughts are the same, then who will bring the change? So I make at least 3 people interview that candidate. right, with different varied perspectives, and from there we make a formed opinion. Because for me, one of the most important aspect is bring in the right person. You hire for attitude more than aptitude, right? You bring in the right person and then you progress, everything becomes a success story.
So that's very interesting. And so coming back to the family business, you bringing those changes, and you initially we started by saying 70% of the family business don't make it to the next stage. So now, how you do that? Because in this part of the world, there can be there can multiple people who can take over the business. It can be a family having 2, 3 sons, or multiple heirs. How you manage that? I mean, do you create a very specific path in terms of to progress the business, family business, from stage 1 to stage 2?
So, one of the other reasons for this disintegration is the second generation. So, if we see this part of the world, the children of all these business owners have been blessed because while the business owners have struggled to build a business from scratch, the children have got a life of luxury, and they have got the opportunity to study in the best of the universities overseas, right? Now what happens is, subsequently they are invited to come and join the family business. But when they come in here, their whole what they had in their mind or the impression is very different when they get into the business, and they always thought this is a very well process driven business, corporate kind of structure and this. But when they come here, they see all these people, old people sitting in the company managing that and this, and no one accepting their ideas, what they want to bring in. There is a huge generation gap between the kids and their father itself. Father thinks he's brought it here, and or the founder or the chairman, and then these kids come up with new disruption. The founder thinks that there are other people in the company who are trying to push their agenda through his own kids, right? And so there is a big mess up, right? I have got second generation people telling that it is impossible to do any dialogue with our with the chairman because he doesn't understand our concept, and chairman saying that these guys don't go deep into things, they just come up with something which is coming out of their mind. So all these kinds of issues are there, and which subsequently, if not sorted at the right time, tend to create a friction, and where some of these youth will say that we want to start something of our own, and you support us in that, and we take our kitty and we do it. So it's not a very healthy scenario, okay? Whereas the same business can be modified or tuned to a better process driven, bring in the new trend, technologies, this to make it more exciting, right? It can be done, but it needs a whole mindset change. So that's where also I tend to play a lot of role in hand-holding these next generation. But then again, what is also important is, now typically in a family business, you would bring in the second generation, and you would either bring them straight as directors or heads of departments and give them that position, or you will ask them to start from the scratch of a department and then grow their way up, right? Now, both of these will have problems. Because, so what we successfully did in some businesses was, we made sure that the second generation will not join family business unless they have worked outside for minimum 3 years, right? Understood how other businesses work, and from there also identify what are their core competency areas or skill areas. And then when they come into this organization, you put them in that area. So somebody may over 3 years understand that marketing is my core area, or finance is my core area and I like doing it, or so and so, or whatever, sales is, then you bring in, you put them in charge, then they are better. And they will also then earn a respect within the organization, rather than the organization thinking that these guys are absolutely fresh, they don't know anything, right? So
yeah, I think that's very interesting. I think I like to end this interview by asking one final question. Being in the board with multiple family businesses, interacted with the second generation, interacted with the business owners, and seen the market, what will be your advice to those second generation guys who are now doing, maybe studying or working somewhere else, who are ready to take the family business? What will be your advice to them, that what sort of mindset, skill set they should have, so that they take this business to the next level, rather than closing down their family businesses?
So, see, one is that they should think as a professional. because any MBA course or any post-graduation course which they are studying are all tuned heavily towards corporate culture, right? And all happens, right? So which is a good learning for them, right? So they should see their role as a professional, which means that they have to acquire all those necessary skills in order to become successful. They have to understand that if they are coming in as a director or a CEO, whatever position, right? It's a professional position, right? It is not by virtue of having the family background, they've gotten it, which is fine. But when they have to manage it effectively, they will need to learn all those skills which are there and which will then push them to apply for a job outside, understand what their core competence strengths is, where they are weak, right? And accordingly, those weaker areas, they will put the right people, the stronger areas, they will keep with them and they will nurture, right? And they will take this. So, learning is a continuous process, right? They should never stop learning. And learning will come not only from the books or from courses. Learning comes by meeting anybody and everybody in the organization. So, second thing which they need to do is, they need to be very approachable within the organization, and everyone they meet, they have to be very good listeners, whether, like I said, whether they meet the junior most person, right, or whatever they do, whomsoever they meet, that guy will teach them something, because there will be something. So they should learn the art of asking the right questions and understanding the gist of those answers, because the more they learn, the more they remain aware, the more effective decisions they would take. I want to tell you one more thing which is also important, because as a part of this family business driving processes and this and that, the another part also is today necessity is of geographical expansion, right? Why? Because that is a part of risk diversification, right? As a part of this whole process, one of the important things for me also is to eliminate all kinds of risks within the organization. So, and we have seen in COVID that certain countries did very well during COVID, some could not do well, right? So for anyone who was in just one single country, one product, one geography, always failed. So as a part of this diversification, to grow them geographically is another important aspect which I get into multiple geographies, whether it is Africa, whether it is South Asia, or whichever, depending on the business model. And another aspect is that because of COVID, it accelerated the digital transformation of every organization, right? Which means that everyone embarked on e-commerce, on social media, on website, everything, which also brought in huge amount of technology-based risk. So today, technology risk is classified as the highest business risk, because, and I have hundreds of cases in this part where companies have paid millions to hackers, for hackers gaining control of their systems, their ERPs, this, right? Because there is here, cyber security as a concept does not exist. Companies don't invest. They have an IT help desk guy who puts an antivirus, and that is understood as protected. You know, server, backup server, all these ERPs you are using in cloud, all these are bringing new threats, right? And which is why I spent huge amount of time in understanding technology governance and the laws around it. And then I acquired my CISM, which is Certified Information Security Manager. I am certified in governance of enterprise IT, certified in data privacy solution engineer, and subsequently I took my second doctorate in technology governance in order to help. And mostly also, a lot of new companies which are opening up are either health tech, med tech, risk tech, insure tech, fintech. All these are tech companies, right? Their whole business model is meant on technology. If you don't protect technology, the whole business model can collapse as much as your people. So it is, you know, so that's another important part of role which I play in organizations in ensuring that their technology risk is also protected.
I think I will have a separate session with you to talk about the technology risk and how to protect that. Thanks a lot for your valuable time, and I'm sure a lot of students who are either the second generation or they started their family business will get a lot of benefit from this interview. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Kiran. Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Thank you.